what do you like to do on your birthday? I imagine many of you would say,
I'm gonna go have a party with my friends, eat pizza, play miniature golf, and then I'm gonna slam my face in some tasty cake, yo!
Others may be like,
I'm gonna hide in my room from the rest of society and read fan fiction all day.
which is equally as cool in my book. But what did I say? I'm gonna go climb a mountain in jeans and die of dehydration. Near where I live is a town called Manitou Springs, or just known as Manitou by locals. Manitou is famous for these things: hippies, Wiccans, the Emma Crawford coffin races where people create race cars out of coffins and ride them through the middle of town. And lastly but not leastly, the Manitou Incline. The Manitou Incline is a famous hiking trail that goes straight up the side of a large hill at the base of Pikes Peak. Made from the remains of an old train track, it is littered with old railroad ties, which are used as steps as you climb the nearly 2,000-foot gain from the bottom to the summit of the trail, with an average grade of 41%. It is almost a rite of passage for locals to climb to the top of the incline at least once in their lives, and I decided that my birthday was going to be that day. I drove down to Manitou and wanted to find some paid parking spots near the base, but the closest one was $10 per half hour. What? That is some grade A horse hockey right there. So instead, I went to the other side of town where I found free parking and also added another mile to the already difficult hike I was about to endure. Fortunately, the town and the scenery were beautiful, so I was not complaining all that much. Yet. I get to the bottom of the hill, surrounded by all the people that are paying $20 per hour to park and go up either to Cog Railway or to climb the incline. And I had trouble finding the beginning of the path, to be honest. It was sort of tucked behind a coffee shop that was placed at the bottom of the ramp. But I looked up, took a breath, and I started my journey up the incline. The beginning of it wasn't so bad. It was a rather gentle slope at the bottom, and the railroad ties made easy little steps. Lots of people were climbing up, including families, people with dogs, and it all seemed rather normal. I put one foot in front of the other and kept going up and up and up. And I had to stop and take my first break on a rock by the path. The trail was steeper than at the bottom, and like 90% of those folk that I mentioned earlier already turned back. I looked up the path, and it looked less like a hill and more like a giant ladder on a green wall that threatened to throw anyone off of the trail that it deemed unworthy. I hoped that I was worthy, and I started climbing up again. The breaks started becoming more frequent, to the point where I would stop at one tree, then I would stop at another tree only like 20 feet away. It was at this point I said out loud, "Why did I wear jeans?" At one of my breaks, I saw this one dude who was really buff, like the most muscly dude ever, covered with tattoos and wearing a gas mask. He was walking up the steps like little switchbacks, and his hands were clenched as he stepped higher and higher and higher. When he passed me, I could hear him breathing like Darth Vader. I watched him, and he didn't stop for a moment the entire time. It was like looking at a god among men. I get to what I think is the halfway point, and there's this guy sitting on the step, huffing and puffing as much as I was. I sit down near him and ask him how he was doing. Surviving. We started talking, and he tells me that he was just visiting from California, but was born in Nepal, and I thought that was so cool. He then goes on to tell me that he works as a researcher and a professor of quantum mechanics. It was some sort of specialty in observing quantum particles, or something like that. I don't remember all that well. But we decided to kind of just hang out and walk to the top together, as slowly and agonizingly heavy as possible. After I thought I got to the top, I was actually on a false summit. And the actual summit was still a good 300 feet away. I sincerely thought about quitting. But I couldn't. It's my birthday, darn it. If I don't do this, then I won't have any gift and I'll be a sad boy with no friends on mountain climbing. So I bucked up and I finished the last stretch. And it's funny how after going through that hellish traverse, being done with it gives you enough energy to celebrate before you fall right on your face. I caught up with my new Professor Quantum Physics friend, and we went down a far easier trailer. After I told him it was my birthday, his eyes lit up and said, "Bro, I'm gonna buy you a beer." When we got to the bottom, I was tired, my legs were chafed from my sweaty jeans that reminded me of my idiocy, and I was dehydrated more than a mermaid on the sun. We found a cool little bar, and I had a wonderful grapefruit beer. And about 9 glasses of water.